Hey up, right, much requested subject, state of collection video, and you know, what bikes do I still run and own? I think what I often forget is that the way YouTube works is, you know, people, it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have, people often don't watch all of your videos. They only pick up the videos that interest them personally, so they do sort of lose touch with what's happening on the channel in general. So this year especially, I've had comments from people saying, you know, when did you get the Gold Star? I didn't know you had one. And then I've had other people saying, has the Gold Star gone, because we haven't seen it for a while? And people asking me, when did I get the Honda GB 350, because they didn't know that I had one. And on top of that, a lot of people just saying, you know, can we have a video with a general explanation of what bikes you currently still have? So that's what I'm going to do today. Now, before we get started on that proper, there is just one thing I want to sort of broach, and that is what this channel is all about. Now, granted, it is a channel that's heavy on motorcycle sort of lifestyle content, because that's one of my passions. It's you know, something that I've been doing now for well over 40 years. But I've always made it very clear in videos, you know, going back right sort of 8-9 years ago on this channel, that this is not exclusively a motorcycle channel. I cover other things that interest me as well, you know, watches, camera equipment, that kind of thing, even political content if I think it's noteworthy. At the end of the day, you know, I've put my time and money into building this channel up, so it's my prerogative what I make videos about. And let's just get this straight, this is not a pay-per-view channel. You get this content totally free of charge, except for a very tiny minority who contribute via my Patreon page, PayPal donations, or via the Super Thanks button, and that is a tiny minority. You don't have to like all the content that I put about. I mean, you don't even have to watch all the content that I put out. At the end of the day, you know, you have a choice, and it's this bizarre behaviour that some people exhibit of clicking on a video they know they're not going to like, and then writing me a novel in the comment section about why they don't like it and what sort of content I should actually be producing to please them. I know the analytics of this channel, I know what works and what doesn't work, and sort of that sort of behaviour is not going to influence me to give you what you particularly want, no matter what threats you throw at me. Right, so going back to the bikes, starting in order of acquisition. The Triumph T120 is the oldest bike still owned by the channel. Now, it was retired back in 2021 due to Triumph's famous gearbox problems. Now, Triumph contacted me and took the bike off me for about a month, brought it back in an awful state. Basically, they couldn't fix the issue with the gearbox. This was well documented on the channel back at that time. I've kept the bike because I can't really sell it to anybody with, you know, a broken gearbox. And in any case, I do have a sort of sentimental attachment to the bike. You know, I've got a lot of happy memories of it in its first 3 years of its life. So it just sits in the corner of the garage and very rarely makes an appearance. But I do still have it. Next up, of course, is the Triumph Bonneville Bobber Black, something which does still appear in videos from time to time. Now, this was originally bought as a long-term project between myself and Moton Customs way back in 2018, I think it was, and I've had the bike since. It's mainly been used as a clothes horse, a collaboration between myself and Moton Customs, and it's actually been used for developing prototype parts in the past as well. So if you have a Triumph Bonneville, some of the parts that you may have fitted to your bike from Moton Customs will have been prototyped and trialled on this bike. Process which is still very much an ongoing situation, so no plans to get rid of the bobber in the near future. Now, next up is the Royal Enfield Classic 500. Now, as far as I know, this was actually the last Royal Enfield Classic 500 in the UK when I bought it. News was released that it had been discontinued, so yeah, I remember it was a frenzied couple of days ringing around all the Royal Enfield dealers trying to find someone that still had one in stock, and I finally tracked this one down in a shop in Scarborough. I think it's DW Motorcycles, and that was back in the summer of 2020, so yeah, over 5 years ago now. Now, what you've got to remember is that at this time, the J-Series bikes hadn't been announced. We didn't know they were coming, and I had a sort of an emotional connection to the Royal Enfield Classic because when I was a kid, my dad owned one. Actually, it never ran since I was born. It was just rusting in the backyard, and you know, I think that was what started off my interest in motorcycles. This 350 Bullet that used to sit in the backyard until one day it just disappeared. And I'd always promised myself that I would get one day. And of course, back in 2020, when they said they were discontinued, I thought, right, this is my last chance. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to get the opportunity to do it again. So I bought one. Yeah, we've been on some adventures together. She's not seen much these days. Again, she's been relegated to the back of the garage because there are other bikes on the channel now which are more current. But again, I have no plans to get rid of her. After all, this is the bike that sort of forged my relationship with Hitchcock's motorcycles, a long-term relationship which has been a lovely experience. Hopefully it hasn't come to an end yet. Which brings us to the next bike that I currently still have. The Royal Enfield Classic 350 J-Series, the new model. Now, it's been a bit of an odd relationship between me and this bike. It replaced the Continental GT 650, which I bought in for the channel a year or so earlier, and I just never gelled with it. And in a lot of ways, the Classic 350 was the same, certainly for the first couple of years that I had it. You know, I always felt a bit lukewarm towards it. What didn't help was this was one of the sort of from one of the early batches, this particular bike, which had the speedometer fault. Not all were affected, but you know, the occasional models were. And it took almost 3 months to get this fixed through Royal Enfield, which put me off the bike even more. And to be honest, it did knock my faith in Royal Enfield a bit. You know, it was a bit of a comedy of errors. It was quite a problematic sort of period for the channel, trying to get the speedo sorted out for this bike. In a way, I think what it was, I felt like I'd let Royal Enfield owners down. You know, when I first started this channel, when I first introduced Royal Enfields to this channel, Royal Enfield wasn't a brand that anybody really rated, and I'd bulled them up because I loved the bikes, I'd extolled the virtues, they'd become very popular. And then, you know, the first test on warranty was a bit of a disaster. And the experience left me feeling a little bit like I'd led viewers up the garden path. I don't know whether that makes sense or not. And it wasn't until last year that I actually started riding it proper and taking Paula on the back as pillion. And at that point, I've got to admit, it did creep into my heart. Now, again, I have no plans to get rid of the bike. The good news is Moton Customs recently told me that they are developing some parts which are almost ready, so that will be interesting to see. And I'm hoping that if they get a good response to those parts, they will expand on the range. So, yeah, keep your eyes open for that. Now, next up is the BSA Gold Star 650. I got this bike last year, and I have to say, this bike really surprised me. I gelled with it instantly. It is a phenomenal bike. It has a fantastic, gutsy, single-cylinder, water-cooled 650 single engine. A wonderful over-engineered chassis, and the only sort of bugbear with it really is the suspension at the rear left a little bit to desire. That's been sorted now, and the fit and finish was a little bit sketchy in places. Now, I took a bit of a gamble with the BSA. It was, and still is, intended to be a long-term project bike for the channel. Pretty much the same thing that I've done with all the bikes that have been on the channel. You know, a gradual program of accessories and improvements that, you know, take a good basic bike and make it even better. But that project stalled a little bit with this bike. BSA themselves have a very limited amount of accessories available for it, which were immediately exhausted. Hitchcocks themselves have brought out some accessories, including a wonderful exhaust system for it. But there's been a bit of a hate campaign against the BSA Gold Star online, mainly through certain YouTube channels, which have damaged its reputation, and they've damaged its prospects for third-party companies bringing out new parts. And so, although I'm by no means finished with this bike, I feel like I've only just started. I've sort of run out of content to film, to make videos. You know, I've exhausted the accessories and custom parts available that I think are worth having, and I'm a bit stuck as to what to do with it now. But selling it and replacing it with something else is not on the cards. You know, I've got faith in BSA. I'm going to give it another year or two and just see if, you know, that reputation from those doom and gloom channels start to improve as they lose interest in dissing it online. Which comfortably takes me on to the latest addition to this channel. The bike that I actually consider to be the jewel in the crown of, you know, this channel's bikes. The Honda GB350S is manna from heaven for any channel like this. This is derived from the Asia-only CB350, which was released in India in, I think, 2021, just before the J-Series Royal Enfields. Customers in Japan kicked off because they wanted it and didn't have it, so the GB350S was introduced to the Japanese market, and likewise the European and UK market also carried out an online petition to get Honda to release it to the UK and Europe, which eventually this year Honda did. The entire UK and European 2025 stock sold out by March. There's now a huge waiting list for them. It has a tried, tested and trusted formula in, you know, the way of the engine and the general mechanics. And because of its popularity in the worldwide market, everybody from Yoshimura to Motone Customs already produce very high quality components for it. But there's more to the Honda 350 than just that. It is a fantastic bike. So of all the bikes I've owned, you know, it's not the biggest, it's not the fastest, but it's probably the most engaging motorcycle I've owned since about 1985. Out of the box, it is absolutely the best handling bikes of all the bikes I've ever ridden. And of course, you've got the peace of mind of a fantastic warranty and superb Honda backup when it comes to parts and servicing. And it's not just me that thinks it's a winner. From what I can gather, most of the legacy motorcycle magazines have dubbed it in its class as Bike of the Year. And although I've already made quite a lot of videos, you know, fitting parts and accessories to this bike, I've only scratched the surface compared to what is actually available. So you're going to be seeing a lot of this bike in the months, maybe even years to come. So there you go, that's the state of my motorcycle collection for this channel as it stands at the moment. And I hope for some people that just puts into perspective the many thousands of pounds channels like me spend just to provide entertainment for free to others. Don't get me wrong, I wish they did, but motorcycle manufacturers do not give motorcycles away for nothing. We have to pay for them just like anybody else. So please just bear that in mind before you jump into the comment section and start complaining about something. Right, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and my other videos. I really do appreciate it. I'd also appreciate it if you would hit the like button and the hype button, because this new hype feature does help to raise the profile of a video so that it's shown to more people. I'd also appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. There are other ways you can help, via my Patreon page, PayPal donations, or via the super thanks button down at the bottom of the picture that you're watching now. Not essential, but it is appreciated. I will of course be back next week, so until then, please ride safely and I'll see you soon.